So, welcome everyone to this little introduction to the OWASP Shop project. My name is Björn. I'm the inventor, project lead, and main developer of this little lovely application, which I started in 2014, but I still consider it the most modern vulnerable web application for training and exercise purposes. So, here to give you a little bit of an overview what the application can do. So for beginners, it should be totally fine. And if you knew the Juice Shop like 3 years ago, there's lots of new stuff we actually have. So let's begin. You will find these in the form of postcards scattered in the keynote room. So this is basically our tagline. So we consider ourselves probably the most modern and sophisticated insecure web application, and it can be used for all kinds of purposes. And I will show almost everything, at least in form of slides. But I also have some live demos, and I'm pretty sure I will have lots of fun with my mouse here on this slopey surface. So let's begin. Immediately diving into a little exercise of a happy path shopping tour. So let's go to the Juice Shop. I started it locally already. This is how it looks when you start it up. So you can read the welcome message, or you can just get rid of it, which is totally fine. We have everything you need from a legal perspective. So the sophisticated cookie banner down here. Of course, I want cookies. And yeah, so this is the application from a regular user's perspective. So you can browse through lots of cool stuff that we actually sell, lots of merchandise. Some things you will actually find here or in the other rooms. And yeah, but you cannot put anything into your shopping basket. So maybe that's because I'm not logged in at the moment. Let's take a look here at the menu. Okay, so you can leave obviously customer feedback even anonymously, so we will not try that right now. There's an About Us page with the corporate history and policy, very interesting. There's all the social media links you need. Okay, great. There's a publicly accessible photo wall. Okay, so this looks like some happy Juice Shop customers have published their experience in some way, and there's a broken image here. Well, never mind. And the help getting started link is what we might actually need in a bit later. So let's actually do some shopping. So I will not register because it just takes a while with address and credit card and all that stuff, right? So of course we are PCI DSS compliant. So that I will just use the demo account, which is well prepared for a little bit of shopping. So let's see, what do I want to have? Actually, I really like the banana juice, and maybe, let's see, a new mug might be nice. $21.99, okay, that's crazy expensive. But, okay, what can you do? I need a new mug, and maybe also a hoodie if it's getting colder. All right, so some stuff in my basket now. And it seems the application is really great with rounding, so that's a good sign if you're good with numbers when you're doing business, actually. So let's check out. I will even get some bonus points for this order. Cool. So I've selected my predefined address here. I can choose between different delivery speeds. So maybe I can see better if I zoom in a bit.
Let's try to set the lights down. Yeah.
I don't know if the camera will like that, but feel free to. So let's pick. Wow. Okay, it's not that important, but I will pay an additional 50 whatever currency this is for fast delivery. I can choose paying either by my already registered credit card. I can add a new one, or I can use my in-store wallet. Okay, and there's also other payment options, but that's just me trying to sell merchandise to you guys. Okay, good. So then let's close that real quick, or collect donations for OWASP, of course. So let's pay with the wallet, place your order. Thank you for your purchase. Okay, great. I can now look at my order confirmation here. Lovely PDF without rounding errors this time. That's cool. And I can also already go to the tracking page and see, okay, it's still in the warehouse, obviously, but in 3 days it should be at my home. Cool. So now, since I'm logged in, there's lots of more stuff I can do. I could, for example, complain if my order was somehow wrong or something I was unhappy with. I could talk with the chatbot. So my name is Bjoern. So hi, okay. And I could ask it questions. Okay, that didn't work. So maybe how much is apple juice? Okay, it will tell me how much apple juice and lemon juice is. So all kinds of crazy features. There's even more stuff you can do with the application from a just normal user perspective. So we're not hacking anything yet, right? So it's just the regular use cases you find in e-commerce application. A little bit simplified, but you can visit your order history. You can request containers for recycling, I don't know, used bottles or whatnot. You can edit your address. You can check your wallet. There's privacy settings. You can even, and I'm serious about this, enable two-factor authentication with the juice shop. So lots of stuff you can actually do. So that's the good part, right? So it's a fully functional web shop where you can buy juice. But it has a few problems. So actually there's 101 hacking challenges hidden in the juice shop that you can try to exploit, right? And try to solve to show how good of a hacker you are. And they are categorized, as you can see here. We have everything that you would expect from the OWASP top 10 or other sources. So I would say the OWASP top 10, 2013 upwards is all fully included, right? So the challenges, these 101 challenges, are separated into different difficulties. So we have 6 difficulty levels, ranging from rather easy up to really crazy complicated. And the complicated ones really sometimes take like multiple steps to actually then finally get it solved, right? And some are really, really tough. So that's why we are fair and try to tell people up front, okay, how difficult is this probably going to be? And when you start hacking, you can actually follow your progress and see your success on the built-in scoreboard, which you can see a screenshot of here. But we will now take a look at the actual scoreboard. And the thing is that Juice Shop doesn't tell you where the scoreboard is up front, because it's one of the typically first challenges to solve, to actually find the scoreboard. And that's what we're going to do. If you remember this welcome pop-up at the beginning, it had one red button saying help getting started, and a similar link is also available here. So if you are not in a training where the trainer tells you, okay, there's a scoreboard, now go find it, you can still follow this link here, and then it will start explaining to you how to find this scoreboard. So our little helpful bot here will give you some hints, and it will explain what you should do to actually find the scoreboard, which is hidden here in the application. You can skip tips that you don't really need. So, and it now recommends to either go just URL guessing or take a look at the client-side JavaScript code in the DevTools, basically, right? So, and it will now say, okay, if you want, then open the DevTools with F12, and then when I do, what it should actually do, it should now progress, because it should actually notice that the DevTools are opened, but this is buggy for quite some time thanks to some Chrome changes. So it will be stuck on this tip here for a while. But I can skip the tip to just go to the next one. So what I could do now, I could either just guess URLs, or I can actually take a look at the JavaScript sources like recommended here. So, hope you can see that. So we have different JavaScript files here in the application. One that sounds quite promising is, of course, the main.js. Let's open that up. And if I scroll down, you can see that this is the main application, and it only has like, where are we going here? Just a couple of lines. So I think you can, if you don't print it, yeah, it has like 200,000 characters or something. Good. So let's pretty print it, and let's try to look for something that sounds like scoreboard. I will just search for score and take a look if this reveals the actual location. So this is some properties, obviously. Let's continue searching. What we have here. That doesn't help so much. Okay. What about this? It's just the title. Scoreboard challenge. Okay, that's an application being defined. Title. Here's a path. It seems here's a complete list of paths. So it seems the application defines a path called scoreboard. So let's try to actually use that. And it will now give me some confetti. And the tutorial script, this little bot, is now gone because I completed the challenge. And I'm now officially on the scoreboard. You see this lovely notification here, which you can, of course, close. And now let's zoom out again. And this is the entire list of Juice Shop challenges, initially filtered a little bit so it doesn't completely overwhelm newcomers. So it's only showing the 1-star challenges by default, right? But if you want, you can just show everything, and then you have a lot of stuff to do. Let's put it like that. So, and what you can now do, you can now start picking your favorite hacking challenges, so to say, and start playing around. For example, let's only show, for starters, cross-site scripting. So, and only the easiest ones. There's just 2 challenges. One is called DOM-XSS. Okay, and it tells me, okay, I have to perform a DOM-XSS attack with this particular payload, because the Juice Shop needs to verify if you successfully exploited the vulnerability, and it will do so by comparing payloads, in the case of cross-site scripting at least. So if I have now no idea what I should do, I could hover here over this little button on the side, and it will give me a little hint, like look for an input field where its content appears in the HTML when the form is submitted. Okay, that sounds like your classical search field, right? So let's see what happens when I search for something. Search for OWASP. Will show me all the OWASP related projects, but it will also do this classical thing, right? So let's see if we can play around with that a bit. So let's, for example, try to do this. And surprise, there's a line that shouldn't be there, right? So I was able to inject this HR tag into this page. So now it's not that much further to the actual challenge where it tells me, okay, please use this, which would create a pop-up via an iframe. Let's see if that works. Put it in here. I get the pop-up. I click OK. You get confetti again, and we get this notification, and we actually solved one of the many hacking challenges. Okay, so back to the presentation for now. You can also the Juice Shop that I started is running in the normal regular mode, right? So it's every challenge is unlocked by default. You can also run it in tutorial mode, where it will only allow you to do the 1-star challenges first, which have a tutorial, similar to this one with the little bot that helped us find the scoreboard, right? And there's like, I think 4 1-star challenges with similar scripts. And once you solved all these, then you will get the 2-star challenges with tutorials unlocked, and then the 3-star, and then that's it. I think there's like 10 total challenges which have tutorials, and after you unlocked all of them, it will then basically give you access to the entire scoreboard. So this is quite useful if you have, especially in a classroom or lecture setup, let's say less experienced participants, and you don't want them to just stumble around and not really know what they should do, or already start working on stuff they're not supposed to, right? So you can use that a little bit to structure your training, for example. What the Juice Shop also does, and that is a relatively new feature, so it tries behind the scenes to find out if you're cheating. And it's doing that not particularly sophisticated. It's basically just counting the time between 2 challenges being solved. So if I would go now here to my console, which is showing my currently running local instance output, you can see that it started listening here on this port for some time, and then I solved the 1-star scoreboard challenge in 41 minutes. And it's expected to take roughly 1 minute because it's one of the easiest challenges and there is a tutorial, right? So this is, of course, a cheat score of 0. Then this local XSS challenge, I took 3 minutes, and it's also expected to take maybe 1, or less than 1 would be considered cheating. So also it's a score of 0, right? So I'm obviously not that good with hacking because I take very long time, so I don't even trigger my own cheat detection. But in the screenshot here, you can see that if you are too fast, then you get actually cheat points. So between 0 and 1, like a spam index, basically. And that is summed up. So it's printed out per challenge, but also you have some total cheat score that, for example, a trainer who's hosting like, I don't know, 20 instances for his students can then just access and see, okay, is there anyone here that is really a little bit too fast, right? So maybe they're just looking up something in a video or following some step-by-step instructions. Of course, it's not bulletproof, but it's a start. Another thing that is completely new is coding challenges. So Juice Shop was, for the first years, all about just hacking, but we recently added, for some of the hacking challenges, a corresponding coding challenge, where you are supposed to find out where the actual vulnerability is in the code, and then select a possible fix. And I will quickly show how that actually works. And that's the main reason why I actually solved the DOM-XSS challenge. Not because it's so exciting, but because it has a coding challenge associated with it. So now that I solved this, I could launch this additional challenge. As you can see, for this bonus payload challenge, I cannot launch it yet because it expects you to first do the hacking and then the coding part. You can even configure that to make the coding challenges always available if you want, but this is the, let's say, most natural flow, I would guess. So let's launch the coding challenge. And this little loading time that you just noticed, right, to actually load the code snippet and then just getting back 19 lines, this is not because the Juice Shop is so inefficient. It's because this code snippet is actually pulled from the real source code files of the Juice Shop. So every location, every source in piece of code in the Juice Shop that has a vulnerability where we could also add some coding challenge for, has some markers in the code which basically say, okay, this is where the snippet starts, this is where it ends, and then it also says this line is the vulnerable one, right? And then it will dynamically load this from the code and then show it to the user. Well, and I'm now supposed to find out where the actual problem is. So let's see. I'm pretty sure that 2 lowercase is something that you shouldn't do. That just sounds terrible. So row 5 must be. I'm very sure about this, but it seems that I'm wrong. Okay, then maybe it's this. Maybe it's this empty state. Okay, that was also wrong. Surprise, surprise. But as it was the second wrong answer, the juice shop will now give me a little additional hint what might be the right answer. So if I'm continuing to submit wrong answers, it will give me more hints, and they get a little bit more detailed every time. Typically, we have like 2 or 3 hints per coding challenge, and after that, it will just bluntly tell me the line that is correct, right? So I guess you all know the line already, but just for fun, let's try out this. Right, so this is the last hint, I think. And now it will just tell me, hey, this is line 6 is actually the problem, right? Obviously, because it doesn't get any more obvious than calling a function called bypass security, I guess, right? So let's see. Because, fun fact, if you're not familiar with Angular, which is the front-end framework being used here, it is pretty resistant against cross-site scripting by default, right? Because it does proper output encoding just out of the box. And you have to actually tell it to turn that off if you want cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, which you guys should never want in your applications. It's only something that I should want in the juice shop, right? So let's submit this instead. Again, confetti, of course. And now we're in phase 2 of the coding challenge, which is the fix-it part. And here I'm shown different options how to fix this vulnerability. And I can select one, and I'm supposed to, you can see it here, submit the one that I think is correct. I can change between line by line or side by side comparison, whatever is easier to read. I can also just show the differences, whatever. So let's take a look at the options I have. So bypass trust HTML, replace with bypass trust style. Okay, that sounds brilliant. Or maybe trust resource URL. Or maybe not do that shenanigans at all. Or let's do trust script. Oh yeah, that sounds great. That is probably the right answer. So let's submit this. And of course, it's not the right answer, but JuiceShop will now explain to me why this is not correct, right? So, of course, the right way is to not use this. There's no good reason to turn a security feature like this off. So let's select this answer, and third time confetti, and now I get a short information why this is actually the correct answer. And now I can close this, or I can jump to a Google form where I can vote. We can either like or dislike with a comment this challenge, and the same also works for the hacking challenge part. There's a total of 26 or 27 coding challenges at the moment, so roughly 26% of challenges have a coding challenge. Not all challenges can have a coding challenge, because there are some which are where you have to follow a very complicated attack path with different steps, and there's not one single line of code or set of lines which is actually responsible. Also, something quite fun with the coding challenges, sometimes there are lines in the code which let's just open it up again. So if I submit line 6 here, okay, this is pretty obvious that this is only one line, but there are also some code snippets where multiple lines are responsible for a problem. And sometimes you have something like a line with just a curly bracket, right, opening and closing around this. If these what we call neutral lines are selected along with the answer, it's still counted as correct, right? But if you would just select everything, for example, it would of course be wrong, because it actually doesn't allow you to select a uninvolved line of code when you submit this. Okay, so jumping to a different feature, the JuiceShop is ready to do capture the flag events. That's why it doesn't just have one logo. It has this second one with the flag as well. And this is basically a feature you can simply turn on in the configuration. And then JuiceShop with the success notifications will also emit a flag code that is dependent on a key that you pass in during startup. What you can then do, you can use any score server that you like, where you somehow bring in the JuiceShop challenges. And as long as the score server is filled with the same flag keys, basically, like your JuiceShop instance emits, you can basically copy them, paste them over at CTFD, for example, and then get points in the CTF, actually. And the way that it's done, you can, in theory, you can let every participant in the CTF use their own JuiceShop instance. What they need to share is this initialization code for the flags, basically. I do not recommend to use JuiceShop for any commercial style CTFs, because there's way too many solutions out in the internet in the form of videos people did. And there's also a complete book with all the step-by-step solutions from me. So you don't want to give out prizes just because someone did well in the CTF style. But it's a fun exercise for teams, for example, or when it's not about money or prizes, but just for fun. So you might ask, how do I get 101 challenges with the corresponding flag codes into my CTFD server, for example? Lucky you're asking, because we already have a tool for that, which you can just run, and it will look like this. So on the command line, it will just ask you a couple of questions, and you can just select the ones you want. So you can pick the framework to generate the CTF for, like CTFD here in this case. You have to tell it where to retrieve the challenges from and where the CTF key file is. You can also decide if hints should be allowed, if they should be free or paid or turned off. And then it will generate like a data dump in either a zip file for CTFD or an XML file for root the box, for example. And you can just import that into your CTF server, and then you're basically good to go. Then you have out of the box the 101 challenges in CTFD, for example, and then the whole setup time for the CTF is like under 5 minutes. So here are just some screenshots. The root the box folks actually invested some more time and actually created some nice icons for the tiles here, where they actually have for each category of JuiceShop challenges different tiles. So that's pretty neat. Even better, if you want to, either for a CTF or for a lecture or training, you want to avoid that everyone has to run the JuiceShop on their own, you can use Multijuicer, which is a third-party project, which allows you to just spin up as many instances as you need. And it's quite sophisticated, because it comes with its own juice balancer. So it will, in the end, it's a Kubernetes cluster with multiple JuiceShop instances, which are fired up whenever you register a new team. And the juice balancer will make sure that you stick to your team's instance and that you cannot interact with the other ones. So pretty neat thing. And in a recent release of Multijuicer, they even added a little scoreboard, which is quite rudimentary still, but it will tell you how many which teams have the most points currently, and it uses the same calculation like we do to determine the points for challenges if you do your CTF on your own, right? So it's like difficulty times X and whatever, right? So this is pretty straightforward to just simply get a classroom setup going and not having to worry about your students coming along with some old Node.js version or not having admin rights on their computer, etc. Right? So the whole chore. Even another feature, you can run the JuiceShop with a completely different user interface. from a look and feel point of view. So the screenshots you see here are showing the theme and the customization that I'm using during awareness sessions at my company. So it's our company logo, the application name is different, there's different products in the store, color is different and everything. This is really great because it's much easier, especially when you do like management presentations or presentations to non-technical folks, if they have a better context, right? So when I'm doing developer trainings, I'm using the juice shop as it is, with the juice and this stuff. And developers like it, right? So it's fun, it's nerdy, and they get it, right? But if you do a presentation to your CIO or even CEO, and I've done both, it's actually better if it's a bit more, feels a bit more like it belongs to the company. And I was even able to convince some groups which I presented to that this is actually the upcoming merchandise store for our company. Of course it's not, but yes. So that's really neat for immersion and for actually making it easier accessible. And this can be achieved purely by configuring the application. So you don't have to mess around with CSS files or other stuff. So there's a YAML configuration file where you can basically override any property you want. And this is the default values. If you just, for example, want to change the name into something else, like OWASP Saftladen, if you want to use the German word, then you can just change that, and then you have a one-line YAML file. You run that configuration, and it will use all the default values from the original config, and then just override what you specified. And you can there's lots of stuff behind these three dots, right? So there's all kinds of properties you can override. You can even override, as you've seen in the screenshots, the complete inventory. So you can define what products should be shown, how much they should cost, the image, which can be either a local image or you can put in a URL, and then during startup it will download the file and put it into the application. It also has some properties here which seem a little bit maybe weird or not clear what they actually do. So these are properties needed for the hacking challenges. And if you just, without knowing what you're doing, reconfigure the product list, you will probably break a lot of challenges. But Juice Shop makes sure that you can't start the application with a broken config. So it will tell you, for example, hey, I need at least one, or not at least, I need exactly one product that is marked for this product tampering challenge. Because that will then be mentioned in the scoreboard of where you then have to go and then actually do some exercise. It will, for example, also tell you if you don't put any reviews into your products, that it needs, I think, like 3 different reviews. Doesn't matter on what products, but in total there need to be 3 reviews for certain challenges to actually work. So I would say that's not a 5-minute trivial task, but it's totally possible and has been done quite a few times. And there's also example configs which are delivered with the Juice Shop. So there's a Mozilla theme, there's an, I think, Open Security Summit theme, and all kinds of things, like 4 or 5 different themes, which you can just take a look at to see how that works. Okay, so much for the functionality part. Now a little bit more into the behind the scenes part, so to say. So what is the architecture behind the Juice Shop? I mentioned it already. It's an Angular application in the front end. It has been thoroughly migrated over time, over the course of 9 years that it's now exists. So it started originally with Angular 1, had a complete rewrite into Angular 2. So that was complete throwaway right from scratch front-end redesign, and has been migrated ever since, and now it's at Angular 15 or something, right? So it's pretty much up to date. In the backend, we have an Express server, and that's running in Node.js, right? It's a Node.js framework. And yeah, also we make sure that all the newest Node.js versions always work. We kick out the ones which are end of life, so we don't have to maintain crazy amounts of legacy stuff. On the database side, it's very simple. So there's a SQLite file that is being generated at startup, and that is basically all. There's also a NoSQL DB, but that's just running in memory. So that means the juice shop can, in its entirety, run just in a single Docker container. So you don't need to have some Docker Compose stuff with firing up Postgres here and that and this. Just one single simple container, npm start, and that's it. So that's why it's so easy to actually run anywhere. So if you have Node.js on your machine, you probably can get it running in no time. Downloading all the dependencies is probably the slowest part. And JuiceShop has a lot of dependencies. And it has a lot of broken dependencies. You can run it locally in Docker. You can run it in Vagrant if you're into that. And for all major cloud providers, we also have instructions. JuiceShop is also quite nicely translated into different languages. So the size of the flag means the level of translation. So originally everything is in English. I try to keep up with the German translation. Chinese and Spanish is also quite far up in the list of translations. And then we have lots of ones where sometimes maybe just a couple of strings are translated. I just a couple of days ago actually added Gaelic as a language. So if someone wants to, please feel free to contribute this to the project. So just to maybe quickly show you how that works. So if I go back to the product overview, and I choose now, for example, I choose German, you can see that some things are immediately translated, but and there was a little pop-up at the bottom, you maybe noticed, but it's already gone. So if I switch to Danish, it now says, okay, you have to force a page reload to actually also get all the backend stuff translated. So the product names, if we go to the scoreboard, challenge descriptions, it's now all in German, right? And that's from the database, and when the row is basically fetched and sent back to the front end, or sent back in the HTTP response, it's before intercepted and translated on the fly with some property files. The level of translation is, as I said, wildly different between languages, and most focused on the front end part only. So I think German, Chinese, Spanish are the only ones where it's even quite a lot translated, even on the backend side. So the products and the challenges and everything is in that language then. I'm a pretty big fan of test automation. So when I started the project, I did that partly to have something for my trainings, and partly because I never did something with Node.js before and want to learn that for myself. And I played around with different test frameworks. And so we have like unit tests, which are pretty straightforward with Karma and Jasmine as frameworks, for example. We have a layer with API tests, where basically the server is started and then the entire API is crawled and it's tested for for all kinds of features. And the most important part is our Cypress suite, which is end-to-end tests, but not the way that you would normally write them. Because normally you write them to test the functionality of your application, right? Can I put something in the shopping basket? What happens when I click on checkout? Can I select my credit card? Yada, yada, yada. That's not what I'm really interested in. I'm interested in if you put this iframe JavaScript pop-up string into the search field and click search, does this pop-up show up? Right? So the end-to-end test suite, it's basically automatically executing the 101 hacking challenges. it's pretty impressive to watch when you have it locally, right? So because it will just hack like crazy. And I, for fun, also checked how much of a cheat score you get when it's running, and I think it's at like 89 or 90% probability that you're cheating overall when you use the automated test suite. On the DevOps side, on the operational side, if you will, we use lots of code linting and code quality tooling. We use GitHub Actions quite heavily, and also some quite sophisticated ones, I would say. We publish our Docker images on Docker Hub. We have automated deployments to 2 different Heroku instances, one for the master branch, one for the development branch. And I always tell people they shouldn't hack either of those, and nobody listens. So they just... So I have some monitoring on top of that, and there's crazy stuff going on the public instance. We also do some automated baseline scans with Zap, but that's more for fun, because I have a pretty long ignore list, because I actually want certain vulnerabilities happening, of course. You can also get some data out of Juice Shop quite nicely. So we have some webhook integrations. It's easy to actually set up a Grafana dashboard for monitoring. And so just one example, if you, during startup, pass in a webhook URL, then whenever a challenge is solved, you get this payload sent to that webhook. Right? So it tells you what challenge it was, what the cheat score was, what the current total cheat score is, when the challenge was solved, and then the CTF flag, and also from where the challenge, what machine this is coming from, basically. So this is, if someone actually wants to do a sophisticated training setup, they could actually build something around that, right? Also, out of the box, we deliver a JSON file with a predefined Grafana dashboard, which will show you everything that the Juice Shop can give out. So it's from number of challenges solved, cheat score, all that stuff, but also technical properties like how many HTTP requests ran into problems because someone did something crazy, how often has it been restarted in the last minutes, whatever. So, and there's also some business metrics like how much money is in total in the in-store wallets, for example. Some crazy stuff like that, but it's a nice showcase for Grafana dashboards, especially if you've never done one on your own. So it's quite easy to set up, and as Juice Shop delivers all this data via Prometheus endpoints, it's very easy to actually connect to a data source. I'm having one Raspberry Pi running at home under my desk 24/7 that is just producing this kind of dashboard for the public demo instance. That's why and how I know that there's crazy stuff going on there. Okay, this is my personal favorite slide, especially in this form because it's broken since this morning a little bit. So this is our success pyramid. Normally it would show on the top here a much shorter box saying that we have had over time a total of 95 contributors in the project. And then it would have looked like a pyramid. But for some reason, GitHub doesn't like me today. But that's how it is. But you can see this presentation is also dynamically pulling its data. So Juice Shop is a flagship project. It even has a gold medal from the OpenSSF best practices. So even when it was still called Core Infrastructure Initiative badge or something, I was told by the guys responsible for that they had a few internal discussions before actually handing out that gold medal. Because normally it's about you proving that your software is very, very secure. So, and I was basically proving the software is very, very secure, except for the few parts that are supposed to be not secure, right? But the whole build process and all that stuff is in pretty good shape, I would say. Same for test coverage and general code maintainability. So it's, if you're into, I mean, if you're good with JavaScript or you're willing to learn, then it's actually pretty easy to get into this. Although it's already 9 years old, right? So it's a quite well-maintained code base. We have a few weak spots, of course, but who doesn't? And on the download or consumption side, well, okay, 7,700 stars at GitHub is not bad. It's almost, it's approaching 200,000 downloads of the GitHub releases, so the pre-packaged GitHub releases. Some people even still download it on SourceForge, so that's why I still publish it there, although I'm personally not using it. And the Docker image has in total been pulled 57 million times. That includes a certain period where I think it was the fault of this multi-juicer project. They had some bug for some time where they accidentally pulled a lot of images unnecessarily. So they bumped up that number, I think, back in the day to like 10 million pretty quickly, so surprisingly quickly. But the other 40 million that came on top, that wasn't them. So it seems to be used quite a bit. Okay, last part. If you want to contribute to the project, there's different ways to actually do so. Of course, you can contribute to the code itself. And we have a backlog of GitHub issues. And as we are approaching the Google Summer of Code season again, I like to actually collect a few issues and keep them open. And they are tagged with, for example, good first issue or help wanted, or both, to show, hey, this is a beginner-friendly issue, or this is the help wanted means this is something that I personally am not good with, so I would actually need some help with this. You can, of course, also help with the translations. So similar to Zap, JuiceShop is using CrowdIn, which is pretty straightforward to actually do translations online, and it will then generate pull requests automatically into the project. So there's no need to manually edit the JSON files in the application in the GitHub repository. You can just log into CrowdIn and do it there if you like, and for any language you want. If you need some assistance to get started, there's actually 2 dedicated chapters in the official companion guide about this. One is the Codebase 101, which gives you a run through of the actual how the code is the code looks like, how is it structured, and that kind of stuff. And then there's the Contribute to Development guide, which is our very extensive contribution guideline, so to say. And of course, you can always ask questions either in our community chat or in Slack. We have a dedicated channel, of course. If you do a contribution and you not already have tons of stickers from a conference like this, I will typically, after merging your first pull request, I will ask you to send me your address, and I can't say I will immediately send you stickers, but I will put your data into a totally privacy secure Google task list, and then when I have a batch collected, then I will go to the post office and send out a few stickers. And our Google Summer of Code students, they sometimes get a little bit more. So for the student last year, he actually got a hoodie and some other nice swag sent over from Germany to India. And I think the postage was more expensive than the hoodie. But it's worth it. And he's now part of the JuiceShop core team, actually. So, last slide, actually, or almost, the project roadmap. So, as I said, we have quite a few ideas for the Google Summer of Code this year. One is that we carried over from last year, because it didn't happen, is a renovation of the scoreboard. You might notice that I'm not a UX expert, so that's why the scoreboard looks like it does. I have some ideas how it could be nicer, but I'm not really able to design it properly. So that's why I would hope for a Google Summer of Code project to do that. Also, the ebook that that you can also read online is currently generated using Gitbook. That's quite legacy, so moving away from that into something, I don't know, more recent, like ASCII.org or whatever, that might be a nice idea. And also we had the idea to include some Web3 specific hacking challenges into JuiceShop. That is a bit of a complicated one, because then you either have to integrate with some crazy actual blockchain stuff, or you have to run your own in-memory blockchain, or at least a fake blockchain or something like that. So that might be a nice fun exercise for a student to actually figure that out. And also I mentioned our cheat detection is not that sophisticated yet, but that might also be a smaller summer of code project to enhance how the JuiceShop determines if you're not playing by the rules, so to say. And then some smaller stuff like adding some more metrics to our monitoring. I'm pretty unhappy that our test coverage is sitting at 88%. I liked it more when it was 90, but it's not that bad. And of course, one of the biggest goals for the roadmap, and kind of connected to this idea to do something Web3, is to sell our NFT collection. And if you're thinking, well, they don't seriously have an NFT collection, yes, we do. So there's actually on OpenSea a collection where you can buy JuicyBot or Juicy Chatbot, and also the evil wasp, which is in form of magnets up there, or the little masked JuicyBot. And they are more rare, so they are a little bit more pricey, but it's still very, let's say, the prices are very decent. So it's like, I think, 20 euros for these and 40 for these or something. So nothing which I can then use to move over to Hawaii or something like that. But yeah, it played quite nicely into the whole fun thing. And we like fun things, right? So my audio here is broken, so I cannot play this, but we actually even have a jingle for the project. And it's also part of one of the hacking challenges. This bonus payload XSS is actually, you will actually get a player inside the JuiceShop injecting a SoundCloud player to actually play our jingle. And it has been played, I think, 75,000 times or something like that. So quite nice. And it's actually a really good song. So it's not me singing, that wouldn't be good. But there was actually a really very nice singer-songwriter who actually did this for us. So if you're interested in more stuff about the JuiceShop, just go to the website. It has basically everything I told you in one form or another. It will also link you to all the side projects. The main project is of course JuiceShop, MIT licensed. The CTF extension is also MIT licensed, so very friendly licensing model. The ebook is Creative Commons. For non-commercial use, you can use it as you want, so but not rewrite and republish, please. And all the JuiceShop artwork, I probably shouldn't tell you because I want to sell those NFTs, but they are actually also available in the official OWASP swag directory. So that's basically all I have, unless you have some questions or want to really quickly go to lunch. Thank you for listening, and hope you will play a little bit with this application. So, and on the way out, don't forget to take some pins and magnets. They're actually really only in this room.
For free?
Yeah, of course. Those are for free.
With some contribution.
Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Where did the idea for JuiceShop come from?
Okay.
Just come out of nowhere, or was there?
No, budget store basically. So if you know that one, that's basically Simon Bennett's little pet application for testing Zep stuff, and it has been for many years. But it's a Java server page application, so it doesn't really help if you teach your developers with that anymore. So I basically started off with, okay, I want to do something like the budget store, but with a modern tech stack. and then it kind of grew with more exercises and the scoreboard being bigger, prettier. And then when it was, I think in the initial version had like 30 something challenges. And then I filed it for OWASP, for becoming an OWASP project. So it was already done and it became an OWASP project. And then it kind of took off and grew into this huge thing. Yeah, but the idea was really just for trainings in-house to actually give developers something that they really use in their daily work and not some PHP, JSP, ASP, whatever the other applications typically are. Yes?
Yeah, personally,
very good.
we use it actually as a training for threat modeling, so and so we build our own cards and so on. And we have something prepared already because that diagram which you showed, we use it with our own team, and it's not very relevant.
Okay. So actually, let me just check here. Actually, we have let me check. We have actually a thread model already, which is a prepared data flow diagram for the actual juice shop. I mean, if I click on this, it doesn't really help, but that's there. You can import that into OWASP thread dragon and then start from there. Then you don't have to. I mean, maybe your diagram that you use is even better. So I'm happy to use that one. But we already have something. But otherwise, not. No.
You train in a way that you receive something from a customer and you have to build your own DFT based on
Okay.
what you receive from the customer. And so all you get from the language.
Yeah, it's the thread model JSON. So that is a quite simple DFT. I think it doesn't have any threads in it. I think it's really just the diagram to get started if you want to do a fake thread modeling session with JuiceShop. Actually, when some years ago at one of the open security summits in London, I participated in a little thread modeling session with Adam Shostak, who we basically did a fake analysis of the juice shop and drew like diagrams on whiteboards and paper and so. That was quite fun actually. Okay, no further questions.
We contact you through OWASP or any other contact if we want to join or contribute.
Whatever you like. OWASP, email, Slack, GitHub, Twitter direct message. It's completely up to you. Yeah, I'm around everywhere basically. Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
Grab some stuff.